Hello, hello, hello. Hi, all. Well, again, happy Friday. We are nearing the end of the month. I can't believe there's only a week left in June. It's crazy. Anyway, but I'm excited because July is my birthday month. So I'm very much looking forward to July. Anyway, if you are new here, welcome, welcome. My name is Angel G. Henry, and I am your inclusive manager strategist as well as ceiling breaker. Why? Because I wrote the book, Dents in the Ceiling, Tools Women and Allies Need to Break Through. It's all about how we serve two different populations here at Angel Speaking. One, to women of color who are sitting in the seat of an organization that is not yet inclusive. They have not started their inclusion journey or are still a bit on the immature side. And so we have some specific tools and techniques in terms of how these women learn to navigate non-inclusive workspaces. However, for our VPs of HR and our chief diversity officers, if you are looking to how do you really harness and make inclusion stick? How do we make it real? How do we truly move the needle on our environment in our workplace, our culture? We can help. That's where we have the Inclusive Manager Education Series, where there's a whole lot more behind it. But at the end of the day, that is the area that we focus on, which is that management layer, so that we don't have to work with women and folks from underrepresented populations and how to navigate non-inclusive workspaces. We can just all come show up to work and have productive, fun meetings, events, projects. It's stressful, we know, but man, wow, to be able to be on a high performing, inclusive team where they get you, your skills and experience are welcomed, your voice is heard and listened to, and you feel like you belong there. Okay. So we're not going to get rid of work stress. We're not going to get rid of deadlines. But wow, when you have an environment where everyone is apart and working together for a common good, that's the ticket. So that's what we at Angel Speaking are all about. And for the month of June, we are focusing on diversity. And as a result, like last year, this time from at June, we were really focused on the U.S. and focused on what it's like to be a Black American female working in the U.S. Well, this June, we are going all around the world. And today we are focused on the land down under, Australia. I personally have never been. It is absolutely on my bucket list. In fact, I won't say their name because I don't want to do a shameless plug for them. They're not paying me. But in fact, when I first started doing Agile project management and looking at Agile consulting, two of the top firms that I know from deep research are doing some phenomenal things around Agile mindset and really moving the needle around work for corporations are headquartered right there in Sydney, Australia. So that rose to my bucket list pretty quick about organizations and places that I wanted to go and visit and maybe work at. So that was in my previous life, but still kind of in the back of my head. So in my research, I found quite a few articles that talked about what's it like to be a Black female living in Australia, most likely as an expat. I was doing some digging to try to see if there was anyone that was kind of like a blog post or information around someone that was born there and just kind of grew up in that culture. I'm still a little curious. I'm sure they're out there. So if you're watching this and you know someone, please send them my way because I would love to interview her. But the most of the information that was readily available in my research was around folks that are expat, meaning they had come from either the US, Canada, UK, or various parts of Africa, and they are now living and working in Australia. Usually around the time it seems to be like student to mid to late 20s. And I found out because there is a concept of a working holiday visa that if you enter the country, Australia, before your 31st birthday, you get this cool, working holiday visa, where you can, work at a hotel or some sort of, hospitality, in the hospitality industry for 6 months, and then you move and do another 6 months. So you're kind of touring, touring the very like Melbourne and Queensland and Sydney. You're just kind of touring the country or a certain area, to seeing if that's where you want to stay and if you want to apply for citizenship. So that's cool. So obviously that ship has sailed for me. But if you're watching this and you're like, oh, Australia, let me do some research. If you are not yet 31, that's something you may want to dig into. So most Black females hit that country in that time frame, right? Like their late 20s, like students, undergrad, grad, late 20s, that sort of thing. So a lot of the blog posts and information that I found is from that age group. So caveat there, okay? And what we found is it's the same and it's different. So let me explain. When we say it's different, what we're finding is that whenever you are an American or from the UK and you're living and working in Australia, they lead with your country of origin. So you are looked at as an American first, and then as a Black female second. So that's interesting because Black Americans are cool over there. which is like, okay. But that is not the first that I've heard of it. My best friend, very, very best friend, shout out Sonia, was in Bahrain, and she had the exact same experience, right? She was teaching over there with English as second language. So she was an ESL teacher. And she had the exact same experience where she was like, yeah, racism is different here. It exists, but the hierarchy and the pecking order is different. And being a Black female, I'm not at the bottom. And that's exactly how overall, again, the blog posts and YouTube videos and the research that I've done this week on Australia as Black women in Australia is the same experience, right? Where yes, there's absolutely racism in Australia. Yes, there's absolutely a hierarchy and a pecking order, but Black American women just aren't at the bottom of that totem pole, which is interesting and hard for us that have grown up and lived in America and have not lived anywhere else. It's hard to grasp and wrap your head around. But very much in this country, we tend to lead with race and ethnicity and any visual characteristics around your religion, and then gender and any other level of identity is just kind of lower. But definitely race is the first out the gate, right? But there it's not. And so as a result of being cool, as a result of having a neat accent, as a result of your skin tone, your hair texture, how you show up, it's cool. It's accepted, right? However, and here's where the and comes in at. However, there's still absolutely microaggressions. There's still absolutely bias. There's still absolutely assumptions about who you are and your work ethic. So over there, it's more of the prototype of we're the workhorse, right? We're going to show up and work all the time. And not so different as it is here in the States, but we have this dichotomy where it's kind of like one or the other, right? And I break that down in the book too around being the Jezebel versus the mammy, right? You're the sweet mom of the team that's always doing the work, always kind of doing the behind the scenes administrative maid work. We're where the team problems seem to come and put in your lap for you to resolve, or you're seen as the opposite, lazy, incompetent, can't be trusted, always late for work, not showing up, or you're always an excuse, whatever. There's that prototype. But over there, it is very much the mammy prototype, like a bias of, work hard and do all the things. So I can only imagine what that is like and what that shows up. for Black American women over there, where it's this I'm cool and accepted, and uh, the the discrimination, the overt discrimination, is very different. But yet we still have the biases and the microaggressions and the assumptions that we have to combat. Still, the hair thing. Now, one thing that I do want to point out is that I did see a theme repeatedly, is that typically Australians, particularly Australian men, seem to like to joke a lot. I saw that theme in 3 different blogs, which was interesting. That there's a certain type of sense of humor that's over there. And so if they make a joke about your appearance, or about you being Black or female or whatever, about your identity, that it's just laughed off and accepted. And so if you were to be like, hey, that's not funny, or take exception to it, then you're just seen as not going along. So there's this kind of undercurrent of go along to get along. Like, hey, you're not that bad. We accept you. You're good. We make fun of your hair, your skin color, or you being a woman or anything like that. Oh, it's no big deal. I didn't mean it. I didn't, mean anything by it. Don't be so sensitive. Now, again, through my research here for the book, I've heard that too from Black American females, where jokes are being made at their expense, and when they speak up and say, hey, that's not funny, it's very much minimized or just straight out gaslighting. So those are examples of what I mean by it's different, but in some aspects it's the same when it comes to the experience of being Black female in the UK and in the US versus in Australia. So all of that to say, there is one particular YouTube video that's it's a couple hours long, so it's a commitment to watch or chat through. But if again you were watching this and you were really intrigued about working over there and what the true experience is of an African American, she was from America, an African American female over in Australia is, I'll put the link down here. It was a video done by Adelia. Picky Girl Travels is her site. And she did a very in-depth interview with an African American female who was living and working in Australia and had been for over a decade, and what it's like. And so the take-home message that I took away from it, I by all means, I encourage you to watch the video and come to your own conclusions. But the take-home message that I took away from it was that Aboriginal and Indigenous populations to Australia are treated like how Black Americans are here in the US. So that's it in summary. That's what I got, right? Like the over policing, the overt discrimination, the drastic inequality when it comes to work opportunities, educational opportunities, just living your life free from overt discrimination and bias, as well as violence. All of that I found to show up in the Indigenous Aboriginal populations in Australia very much, almost mirror to how African Americans and the population here is in the U.S., Black population here is in the U.S. And then also too, I do want to touch on super quick, because I brought it up last week, is around the issue around colorism. And she did highlight the fact that women, or men and women actually, from Africa and from various if you're not African American, but you are from Africa, then you are treated differently than if you were African American or from the African diaspora, like from Britain. So I thought that was interesting too. Again, the different layers and hierarchies in terms of how populations are treated, even within, like, hey, we're all Black, right? But no. Where you come from, your country of origin, actually seems to take precedence for how you're treated over there. So that's interesting. But with that, what's the take home message? So again, if you are working in this space, so well, number one, if you are an African American female, then you might be sitting there thinking like, what's that YouTube video? How do I get to Australia? Because Black girls are cool over there. Let me go see. Then I know, there you go. You got the link. Picky girl travels is what you want to do. If you are a VP or a DE&I officer and you're watching this and you're thinking like, okay, well, that was an interesting little history lesson from your research, Angel, about how Black women are treated in Australia. What does that have to do with us? How does that deal with what's our take home message? What's our call to action? Your call to action is one, awareness that we are not all a monolith because of the different nuances around where someone comes from, where they grow up, their lived experience. It is absolutely going to impact how they show up at work. Now, how they show up at work, they're going to have a supervisor, right? If you're in corporate America, there's always somebody that you're going to report to. So fostering that relationship between the direct supervisor and their direct employee is where you come in. Okay. So encouraging that manager, that supervisor, that people manager, director, whatever you call them, fostering that and giving them the tools, the language, the support, and how they get to know their direct reports, connect with them to elicit authentic, open, real communication to where we have, two people who actually talk to each other, and that the supervisor can then do their job, which is to enable and foster and grow that person's career, right? Giving them direct feedback, giving them timely, actionable, practical feedback. Let's get there. Getting to know them as a person, what their strengths are, where their developmental areas are, so that they can co-create a plan in terms of how to get that person either up to speed and performing, maybe find them another opportunity that's a better fit, maybe even exiting them out of the department or even the organization for something that's best for them. That is absolutely also still always an option. Or for up-leveling them, meaning getting them promoted or getting them a stretch opportunity, right? There's a myriad of things that need to be done, but unfortunately, we have regulated our managers and directors to just task managers, right? Just manage the work, make sure the work gets done. And that is no longer acceptable. Absolutely no longer acceptable. And so it's to bring, I talk about women in Australia, women and from Latin America, women from the islands, that's coming up next week, to bring awareness to the fact that, oh, wait a minute, there are different aspects and identities to the people coming into our door. And we are doing ourselves a disservice by not really tapping into those strengths, tapping into their experiences so that they can show up their full, whole authentic selves at work. Okay, so that's that. Hopefully that answers your question. If you're still lost, confused, need help, support, or if you like, aha, I get it. Now what's the next step? It is to email info@angelspeaking.com, where we can unpack the strategic inclusive manager educational training series. And again, if you happen to be a woman, period, woman, that is experiencing a career challenge right now, where you're thinking about pivoting, you're thinking about, do I need another degree or certification to get what I want? I missed my last promotion. How do I get seen, heard? How do I position myself to get promoted next year? All of those things. Please, please, please do strongly consider applying for the strategic mastermind. If you happen to be in the Indianapolis area, it will be taking place in person, our first in-person event. Everything's been virtual up to this point. So hosting my first in-person event this July. And even if you're in the surrounding area, Chicago or various parts of Illinois, Kentucky, Ohio, my state, right? Dayton, Toledo, Columbus, Cincinnati. Cincinnati's right down the street. Come on, y'all. Come on down. Let's spend a half day together, get you some help and support, let you have a little bit of fun, and then get back home, right? We need to move the needle. We need to move the needle on your career, and you need help to do it. Stop doing it alone. It's not working, hasn't worked, not going to work. So you have to do something different. And that is to get with a whole another nest of eagles, is what we call it, in this mastermind, in order to help you soar and fly in your career. Okay. So with that, thank you all very much. Again, happy Friday. I look forward to hearing from you. Take care and be blessed. Bye now.